Hello, good evening and happy Wednesday. Great to be back here again. It seems like 5 minutes that we were last on air. Now, firstly, when somebody comes in and joins me, I just need to know, I don't know why my screen, I hope it's just my device, my screen is looking really dark, and yet I've got lights on in here. I've got an additional lights as well. The strip lights are on as well. But I hope it's just the fact that the camera is, something is looking on there that's just a little bit on the dull side. So I'm just looking for the page in the catalogue that I'm going to be using today. Without my glasses on, don't tell me. I don't know where they are here. And we will just pop those on a sec. I've got something, it's totally wing it today. I had a class today and I've been talking to the ladies about how much I wing it. Inks, I'm looking at the ink sections. There we go, and page 126 I think is going to be where I want to be. So let me just get that page open. And there we go. Marilyn, please just tell me, is my screen looking really dull today? Is it really not quite bright enough? I don't know what's going on, but it's an unusual one for me, unless it's just the settings on my machine. So, but I've not changed anything, so I'm not quite sure why that might be. So we're just going to move that up a little bit. There we go. And we can see him. So I'm going to move you across and say hi again. So tonight I've got my heat gun plugged in and I'm going to be doing some heat embossing. Now it's just going to be a case of let's heat and see what we do. Let's just play with the powders. I've got my Versamark in front of me here. Everything heating, embossing wise, and the wow powders, etc. are on page 126. Okay, a little bit too dark. Yeah, I know. But I don't understand why. I don't want to come out of the screen because it might just mess things up. So I'll just stay on being a bit dark, and I will play with it afterwards. So heat embossing. I keep my powders all in a box like this. This was one of our old wood mount cases for the stamps, and then in here I've got all different powders in here. Now I used to have one in here that was called metallics, and it's not there now, so I reckon it's still in the drawer. Not used it lately, but there's a reason why I want to go through that with you. I keep in here my refill, which I'm just ordering a new one because it's getting very, very empty, which refills the ink for the pad. And I've got the Dust Buddy. I was talking about that with the girls today, which kind of put me on this track tonight. I also keep a sponge dauber just for if I wanted to daub onto a stamp, then this is the little buddy that I do. And then in here I like to keep a piece of the grid paper with the different types of the colours of the powder. So I've got the gold, I've got the clear, the white, a couple of whites like silver, copper, black, whatever. And then when I tip the powders in here, I make sure that that's not going to contaminate a different colour of powder, so you don't get the little morsels of black into the white, etc. So not dark on the table though, that's the silly thing. I think it must be the iPad setting on my face. So don't worry, we'll carry on. Oh, there's a little scrap of black there. That might just come in handy for something else. So I'm going to just be playing. There's various things on here that I'll just talk through briefly. You need to have the heat tool. So for heat embossing, you need to have a heat tool. So this is ours. We've got a little wire track here that we can just lay it down on, and that will just sit there like that. The cord is quite stiff, so it does kind of kink, it wiggles a bit sometimes, but apart from that, I just tend to use it like this, as you've seen before. I'm going to put that to one side. That's out ready, and the Versamark. So I'm going to just play with a few things. I might have to jump up and get some stamps, and I want to just show you different textures and different things that I want to do with this. So I'm going to leave you on that page for a sec actually, and just get that metallics if I can. Because there's a reason for that. It should be labelled nicely. There we go. That will do nicely. This will kind of lead on to another thing I'm going to do maybe on Sunday. So I'll put that across there. So let's just get started and grab some cardstock. So what should I play with first? I'm going to get a greeting out, I think, and then I'm going to use, just because we've got this one to hand from the other night, I'm going to use Season's Greetings, and then just to do some things in that, and then grab whatever else I can. I want to show you some different ways. So just a minute. Black, black, black. There we go. This is one of my first loves, really, is putting the embossing powders onto black card, because they really jump, they really shout out at you. So I'm just going to get a couple of pieces of this out. Stand it on the table legs. Okay. Now, I was out today and my bags are all beside me, but I don't know which caddy my blocks went into. So we might have to just locate some blocks. In my sentiments, no, they've hidden somewhere. So let's just grab those up and down, but never mind, we'll get there. There's a few of them. You need some more embossing practice. Right, Linda, next time you're over, we can do that. Add it to your book, your little book at the back. You do that with your embarrassing powders, do you? Excellent. Right, so let's just take a greeting off here. And we might actually take that snowflake, because that might be good at showing the different textures on. So I'm going to have that one out of there. And I'm going to have that big solid greeting. It's nice to practice with solid greetings. You want somewhere that's going to give you enough product to see, so you can see the differences that it makes. So let's have a snowflake onto here. Okay, not that we're going to have gold and silver snowflakes, but that will help. And then the sentiment here, I'm going to pick that one up onto there. Okay, so I'm going to pop that out of the way just for now. Over there. And let's see where we start. So with embossing powders, they are airborne. These little tiny fragments do tend to float in the air, so I will end up with pieces on my board. So it is, I mean, I just have wet wipes and just wipe them down, or just spray some water and then wipe them off the surface, because you don't want to get them onto your projects and then grab something later. So we'll grab a piece of the grid paper. In my pouch here, I have some grid papers that we used today. So I'm just going to take a sheet out. And then we've got the white sheet. That will probably brighten the images up as well anyway, having that underneath. So, you were playing the other night. Epic fail. Oh dear. Angela, I do like to know. You've just ordered that stamp and die set. Ah, well done. I'm glad I have this influence over you ladies. So, Versamark is the ink of choice. Like I said, I've got my re-inker if I want to put some more ink on it and wet it. There's very, very little in there. He's looking a little bit sadly. So, I want to just do something like one of the metallics. Let's just do a copper. Copper is always a really, really good one. So, let's get my little sachet out of here. We do have an embossing tray. The embossing tray is very good. If you haven't got like the embossing buddy, then it's handy because this comes in it. It has the tweezers, the metallic tweezers that you can hold things in. If you've got a big enough card, I tend to be lazy and not use them, but I also do have a peg. You'll see from the ink on here, I've been using it for ink techniques, but it always sits just pegged to my twirly caddy here on the table. So if I do need it, it's just to the side of me. So I've just put the sponge dauber over the dust buddy over here. So I'm ready to ink up. So I'm just going to stamp this on here. We're not necessarily going to make things today. We might just be doing sentiments, just images and just going through techniques. So make sure that that's nice and strong, solid. Don't move the stamp at all, and then lift that off. Now you can't see where it is. So my first rule of thumb is to just take that piece of, there's a little scrap of paper on there, is to put the lid on your ink pad. If you don't put the lid on your ink pad, when you're sprinkling the powders over here, it's airborne, that little dust, and it'll go on here and it'll get mucky. This is quite a fairly clean one. They do stain from whatever you've got on your stamps. That's to be expected. So I'm just going to tip this on here, but I'm going to grab my little slips in here that I keep. So I'll put the copper near the back, I think. There's a copper. Okay, so it's got, you can see where it's been on there previously. So if I just tip that over, like so, I've tipped off the excess. Okay, and make sure that we're happy that's nice and legible and it's all covered in the powder. So I put this back in the powder, in the pot straight away. Okay, and get rid of those. Lid on, because we don't want to accidentally melt that. And we're going to just melt this greeting. So get that out of the way because you don't want to dry out the ink pad. So I'm just melting this. We're not wafting it because we want it to actually concentrate on the powder and actually melt it. If we waft it, we're cooling it down. Think about when you have a fan and you use a piece of paper to fan yourself when it's hot. You're wafting it to cool yourself down. We want that heat intense on there, like so. Okay, so that one's finished. So that is just straight embossing. We dust buddy, we put the ink on, the powder, and we've melted it. And that's quite a nice little greeting, nice and subtle because it's the metallics again. Okay, so that's just one way of doing it. Now if we don't need to clean the ink pad, the stamp here, we're just going to stamp that again. And if I was to go along a little bit further, I would have a nice white greeting. I'm just going to do a contrast on here. So another good impression on there. Lid on the ink pad, and then we're going to grab the white. There's white. There's the white one, and we're just going to pop that underneath. And we know that we're concentrating on this area here. There's the white. Now these are still the old powders. I haven't got the WOW ones yet. When the catalogues changed, we actually had a new supplier. So we've gone over to the WOW ones, which actually I think is a British brand. We see that a lot over here. So there we are, ready to go. Tip the powder back into the pot and lid on. And then we're going to heat this one, just so we've got a contrast. Oh, never mind, Anne. Nice that you could join us anyway. We'll see you later. Now, it's important not to overcook your embossing powders because they lose that shine. If I bring it right up to the camera, you can see how clear that is. And if I tilt it, you should be able to see there's a shine on those. Okay, so that's two images there. Just a sec, tissue. I've been out in the cold today. I haven't got a cold. It's just the atmospherics and a runny nose. So, I'm going to just cut those off and pop those to one side. If you have, like me, you have lots of black scraps, I love heat embossing as being a way to, I'm just going to zoom in a bit more. I love heat embossing powders to use up some of those scraps and actually have a little bag of them inside the stamp set, so you've got a set ready to use. Now, if I could find quickly these are the decorative trees. We were playing with these today, and I do getting a bit full in here as to having pieces that are started and not used up. So if I just take this bag out, move those. So in here, I had several that I've made that I just embossed them as strips. So like these. This is a white strip, white powder onto a black strip, but it's really handy to have in your stack in here. So when you're doing your heat embossing, I suggest you do, if it's something you really like I love white onto the black, that you do several of them in one batch of cooking, so to speak. It's like batch cooking. So you do several and have them in the packet that goes with that stamp set. And then you have these ready. Some of the ladies today, I didn't take the heat tool because it wasn't environment, I wanted that there. And another thing to worry about the textures and not burning someone else's tables, etc. So, but they were already done in here that enabled them to say, oh, could I have one of those? And they just got on with it, which was nice. So I talked them through, but those are quite handy to have in there as different pieces. These are white embossing on the coloured as well. So they're something I do as well. So if you've got an afternoon and you want to do some heat embossing, grab your black scraps and put the white powder on them and then keep them in the relevant stamp sets. Okay, so that's one. So I'm going to come on here now to the bigger piece and I'm going to do the same, dust buddy over the top. That just gets any natural oils in your fingers that you might, my fingers are quite dry, but you do have natural oils in your hands, and you can leave thumbprints on here. When you put the powder on, the powder will stick to any damp, wet images, okay? So you will find that they would stick on there. So that's just that one. And then we've got the snowflake. I'm using snowflakes just because it was in that set, and it's a big image that I can... A bit of dust on that little hair. It's one of Tig's, I think. So I'm just going to stamp this one in the corner just so you get an idea. And then we're going to do it again with different colours. So that's the Versamark, and we'll do a quick white one. That's traditionally what your snowflakes are. But these would be lovely on a dark sky, a midnight sky. Some of that blending we've been doing recently. When you blend all the navies, the blues, etc. down, and you can then put some snowflakes on the top. Okay, and powder out of the way of the gun. Okay. Just melt this one for a sec. All we're doing is heating it until it goes shiny. We're melting the powder and then we stop, we move on. Okay, like there. That is all nice and shiny on there now, so that's a good one. So what I wanted to show you next was, so a couple of sentiments. And we've got the sentiments, we've got a snowflake. I've got in here somewhere, I took some punchers with me. That's a tree. Oh, that goes in there. What you get when you haven't unpacked yet. Oh, that's a good one. Doing a bit of limbo here. So this is the one I was really looking for. So what I want to do is to go over doing some of this, but I'm going to mix the colours now. So I want to have this big leaf here. So it doesn't matter what colour you start off with, but I am going to start with the black on this occasion. So we're going to have that one there. Then do a yin and yang on here, so we'll have a couple. Okay, so there's a couple of those. Take those out of the way. So this is now going to be where I start playing. Now, I said to you earlier, I had, just move that over a bit. I had a pot, an empty pot that I called metals. Okay, this is mixed in here, and we've had different metals on the go at once. Okay, I will leave that over there out of the way, but I'm going to use my little sponge dauber, and I'm going to use my Versamark ink. Okay, and I'm just going to daub some of this over randomly over my image. Okay, I'll do one first and then I'll show you as we go. So I will now sprinkle on, I'll take some of the metals out of here. Got copper out, haven't I? It's a gold, it's black. I haven't got a silver out, have I? Silver has vanished. That's probably been out in something. This is just what's in my head at the moment. It's copper. That's for that one. Then you need gold. And gold is this one. The silver does help because it just lightens the image. But in the absence of silver, I'm going to use some white, just some little flecks. So I'm going to use a little spatula here. Now, when you're cake icing, when you were with your gran and you used to do some cake baking, this is kind of what we did. We'd have icing sugar on a spatula, and then we would just literally tap it off, and it just dusts the top of your cake. Can you remember those days? Okay, so this is just me with some ink, some powder, some gold powder on that one. Leave those at the back there, just out of the way. So I'm just going to heat that one up. I'm going to grab the peg though, because I don't want to get that on my fingers. Like I say, I should have got the the kit out, and it's got the, we're going to go over these other pieces where the peg is. We'll just heat this down. This is when I like to play with techniques like this, so I thought I'd just do some samples for you, and you can have a go. Okay, so that's just randomly some pieces on there done. Okay, the stalk's not done yet, but we can work to that in a sec. I don't think I've got the tweezers in that, Kelly, I know. Okay, we'll come back to that. So there's that one. So now I'm going to do some copper. We've done the gold. I'm going to put some copper on here now. So I'll get that ready, but I don't want to put the dauber on here. I want to put the dauber on this piece of paper. So you're just going to randomly go over here with a dauber, okay? Not covering all of it, just a little tiny bit there. Then place it on here and put some little specks of copper. Okay, I'll just wipe this with my fingers. And I'm just going to dip this on here. And I just want some random pieces. Just, you're mixing your metals basically, which is why when I said I had, there you go, wipe that back in. Why I said I had the, there you go. Just leave that one on there. We're just mixing, and we'll have a little bit of black going in. We'll have all sorts just mixing up in a minute. And you'll see what the texture you're going to get. They're quite an antique-y metal we're looking for. It didn't actually stick as much as I thought. And in the absence of the silver, we're going to do a little bit of the white, just tiny little flecks of white. It's nearly like putting a pinch on there. So we get some more dauber, okay, and just tap this randomly, just little bits, filling in gaps, just tiniest little bits. Okay, and the white coming back again. We're looking for kind of like a hammered metal effect. I want this, don't I? Don't want much on there, just literally just a pinch really. So just tap it with your nails. Like that. And then we're going to take that away. There's nothing really much on there, I don't think. I think I've been too little. You can't really see much on there at all. Let's just go for that again. The difficulty with the dauber is the fact you've got the whole of that image, so you are doing sort of like solid bits on there. So we'll try again. You're going to think I'm mad, I think. I'm hoping that the effect is going to come through. So again, just try again. Okay, back in the pot. Okay, so what we're aiming at is we're basically going to end up getting mixed metals onto one piece. Is it going to be bright enough for you to be able to see? I've not covered it all yet. I've still got some of the black coming through, but I have got, you can just see on there, I've got some like coppery colour. I've got other bits on there. Now, the other thing I like to use with this technique is my wedges of sponge that I have. I use, a bit discoloured, but I use the scrubby end, the loofah end, because I call this my aero effect. I'm all right here. It's not frozen on my screens, my dear. Okay, hopefully it'll come back your end. Yeah, this piece here I use as an aero effect because it's all bubbles. It's got lots of gaps in it. So when you use this in your Versamark, if I put this on here, I'm going to try it on here as well. I'm just going to stamp on this bit so I can just give you what it looks like. And then I'm going to do it on here as well. You won't get a solid image like we're getting at the moment. You will have the speckles. So we'll start off with the white on here. So that is what the aero end of your sponge will look like. It's not a solid image, it's just speckles. Okay, it looks a little bit like frostbite, like where you get the surface over your windows when you get a hard frost. Okay, so I'm just going to tip this back in the pot. Did I put some on there? Can't remember. Let's just try. Oh, I've put it on this one now, haven't I? Just sprinkle that over. It'll only stop where the powder's actually stuck. Okay, so there we're starting to fill up that piece. We're just going to tip that back into the pot. Okay, and then we'll move that out of the way. We'll heat those two up. It's a good way of just playing with your different pieces of your inks. Just get that in the peg. And this one. There we go. I wanted you to be able to see the difference of not having a solid image. So the Dorbre is solid. This is like an aero effect. Obviously I touched that a few times. If you just want tiny little bits, you can make that less than that as well. But it'll only stick to where your wet is, so where your Versamark is. So that's a solid image, but this is just with your aero effect on the brush. And now if I go back to my peg, you can see behind there, I've got lots of different colours on there. I've got the black still coming through, a bit of copper, gold, and some white on there. If I had the silver as well, it would give another metallic effect. But that's just to give you some old aged texture. I'm just going to see if the silver's still in the drawer, because that will add a little dimension as well. There we go. So I'm going to do it once more with just some silver on here now. So the metallics are good together. So again, I'm just going to use I don't use a dust buddy at this point because we're not doing a pristine image. We're just doing the textures. Okay, so if I just tap that on there a little bit, and I'm just going to, oh, not on here. I'm just going to do a little tiny bit and sprinkle this onto the silver. That's silver. Just on here. Again, it'll only stick where we've got. Okay. I like doing this on black because it's obviously, if you're looking for an antique effect, black is a good base for you. Take that one with silver. That's white. Silver must have gone over there. No, that's metals. I'll find it later. We can see which one it is. And the last one on here. Okay, it's looking more white. She's got a little bit of the copper still in there, the gold, the silver. You can see those colours in there, but you can keep on building it up. If any of you have ever done what they call triple embossing, where you can stamp and stamp and stamp and get a solid image and then build it up and sink, we'll do that one next. You like the sponge zero aero effect. That's just one of my terms because I think that that's what that texture kind of looks like on the sponge. It's all the bubbles that you get in an aero chocolate bar. Okay, so that's just showing you a little bit. Now, if you get lots of those metallics and you find that you end up getting bits all mixed up, then I just tip them into one pot at the end. So I've got black, silver, gold in there, and there might be a bit of copper in there, but that is all mixed up together. So you could actually just get a collection or even put a pinch of each in a pot, but make sure that you label them clearly. So I've just got a Sharpie on there and I label it metals. Okay, so that works. That's another one. So we'll do some triple embossing now. I'll just find a piece just to, I can do it on the black because it's going to stand out more for you. Let's get that tissue and wipe that off the table. Okay, where did these go? So white was over there. the copper is there. Just put some lids on so I don't spill them. Which have I got the most of? I think I've got the most of the copper actually. It might be easier. So there's copper. So triple embossing, we want a big enough piece of the card. I'm going to do this one. And I think I'm going to use a block. So I've got a nice square image. So we'll take that off there for a minute. But I'm going to actually use my little block as my triple embossing block. Okay, and then I need something small enough to go into that molten image. So what might we like? Something not too much of a texture in it. It's just a solid image. I think it is going to be one of these. I might use a snowflake actually. Let's just peel this off here. Put that in the pot. Snowflake onto that one again, and then we'll use this one as the molten. Go into there better. No, we'll do this one as the molten. So I'm going to use the Dust Buddy just to clear the background. Then I'm going to use a Versamark. And I'm going to use my block as my stamp. So this is going to give us a solid image, okay, just of sticky. So I'm going to place that on there. This is going to be a little bit of triple embossing. So stamp that nice and good on there. Put the lid on so you don't get the powder onto your block, onto your powder into your pad. Now I can see where that's sticky on there. So I'm just going to sprinkle this over and I'm going to melt it. Okay, so it's not much of a solid image, but that's on there. Tip this back in. Put that to one side, out of the way, and heat this. Use your peg so you don't burn your fingers. Absolutely, Gillian. Yes, I wish they'd do coloured ones. Who knows? We've got a spring catalogue coming. Spring is a time they would release sort of like colourful things, wouldn't it? So, or even for the annual catalogue. It might, you know, now they've gone over to Wow Powders. Wow do some lovely, bright, really bright papers. So who knows? They might be coming. I haven't got wind of anything at all. We don't get told these things, but I'd just like to be optimistic about what might come. I've got my mat out here because it's a solid image and I'm not getting a solid block here. So I'm just going to ink this up well again. It might be because it'll be on the pad, the Stampin' Mat, it will be a little bit easier. Of course, it's going to slide now, isn't it? Because it's already got a slippery surface on there. That doesn't matter because at the moment we are not we're just trying to get a solid image. Okay, so pop that on here. I'm going to sprinkle that over again. Now we will remelt what we've already got on there. That's the nature of the beast. Okay, still not much in the middle there. Tip that back in the pot and then we'll heat again. I'm going to do this about 3 or 4 times. Yes, it'd be nice to think so, Gillian. We'll have to remember this conversation if they do come out. No, and then nothing's much is happening there yet, but we will get there. So we're just going to pop this all over here again. It should start building up. But as you build your layers, it's going to be harder to get to those gaps in between. Okay, cover up that on there, matte and copper. I want to fill some of that middle bit. What we're trying to do is build up several layers and then have a molten effect in the middle. And then we're going to sink our stamp into it. Don't go too near to your mat because you would melt your mat underneath us. You see that image just isn't going to get through to the middle there, is it? What else can I do? I could have a really old paintbrush here that I use for painting on something, or I could use a little diddy bit of sponge. It's a diddy bit of sponge there. So what I'm going to do is just pop some re-inker on here. It's very, very little left, so there's really not much on there, but I'm just going to try and squeeze out anything I can. Come down, come on, out you come. There you go. It's really gloopy stuff here, and there's hardly any left in the thing. It's on order. I've got another one coming. Okay, so can you see there's some liquid on there? Hopefully you can on the camera. There's a little bit come out. It's getting so low, bless it. So I'm just re-inking that a little bit, and I'm going to just spread that with my bone folders. They were all out today. I've just got to find where I put them. There they are. So this is the one I tend to use for spreading inks with. I'm just going to keep that fairly in the middle there. All right, and I'll wash that later. I'm just going to get some on that sponge. Okay, so I'm going to work that in harder than the solid surface and get that middle area filled. Okay, just in that there. Just a little bit of help on that one. And then the powder. Tap it off. Oh, look at that. That worked. Forced the issue, didn't we? Just thinking outside the box sometimes. And then we're going to heat that. Look at that, isn't it? That's now starting to go. So that's what effect you're trying to get with triple embossing. You're trying to get it to layer up and layer up, but because we've got a little bit of a dent where it hadn't taken in the middle, I just had to help it a little bit with sponge, okay, and work that in. But I'm going to do that once more. Just let that cool for a second, and then I'm going to go over that once more, and then we're going to ink up our stamp in Versamark while this is all molten and wet, and we're going to sink that in there. Okay, it won't damage the stamp. Okay, so I'm just going to go over that again. When I've got a new bottle of the re-inker, it will work better, because I'm just trying to squeeze out the last dregs in there. And put this triple over now. Like I say, several layers, it will build up. Okay. Put that back into the bit of a conveyor belt, really, just going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 all the way around. And we're going to have this ink up ready. So this will be sitting on the pad. Okay, I'm going to heat this up, and then I'm going to sink that into it immediately. And there it goes. So while we're all nice and hot on there and all melted, we're going to quickly stamp this into here. Okay, take that peg off and hold that in that molten. If I've kept it hot enough, that will work. We've not done this for a long while, but it's a good one to show. Then it will start to set, and then you can just lift that stamp out. Okay, and there you kind of shows you what you've done, and you've got your, you see that in the middle there. Okay, you've actually got that in the middle, of your image. Now you could then punch that out, or you could just leave, if this was nice neat edges, you could actually just use that as a debossed image on there of the snowflake. Okay, you can just see that, if I can catch it on the light properly. Okay, so that's a little bit of triple embossing, or triple, but however many layers you want to do with it. I've got one more thing I want to show you as a texture. I'm just going to get something else out. So we've got sentiments as they were, we've got the triple embossed, that just needs a wipe. Something else that I use, this is very sticky on here, so this needs to have the scrubber on it. Again, packed in one of the bags. There we go, the chamois. I'm just going to clean that off there. And it's back to normal. And I've got one more technique I'd like to show you. Something thinking outside the box, but it's a really handy technique, and I think you'll like it. Just a sec. So heat embossing is all about texture, and when you're thinking about adding texture to something, something I've had, this roll here, it's builder's scrim, and this is like a plastic tape that builders use on plasterboard to stick them together. It's very loosely tacky on the back, not terribly, but just very loosely on there, and it's like a plastic, like a matte thing. So I'm just going to take a little piece off here, wherever I put the scissors, under my nose. Just going to take a piece off here. We don't want to waste loads, but it's nice if you wanted to put that onto a card, you would have a nice sticky piece there to do. Now the only thing with this is you do need more than one piece of paper just to ink it up on. The reason being, there are lots of holes in it. So you need to make sure that you've got half of this for inking and half to tip it off with. So I'll just do one piece on here. So when I pop this down here, it's very slightly tacky on the back there, so I'll just pop that over, and I'll use my Versamark, okay, on here, like so. Tear that down the middle. Now, because I've inked it up on here, if I peel this off, you will have all little ink through those holes. So you need to put it onto a clean piece of paper. All right, so that's got the ink. You can actually write a message if you remember. So this is the dry, and this is the inked. So this will have lots of, if you put the powder on here, you'll waste it basically. So let's go to a different colour now, shall we? Shall we go to, what have we got? A gold one. Because it's Christmas, we might use some gold. It's gold, yeah. So I've now got Versamark ink all over that mesh, and I'm going to just sprinkle this over. So it's all going to get tipped back in, whatever you don't use. Just cover the surface. Tweezers would be a good addition here. There we go, much easier to pick it up. I'm going to just tap that off nicely. So I can come back on here to heat it, that's not a problem. Just tip that back in the pot, a bit like we were using earlier on the grid mats. Okay, so that out of the way. Now on here, I'm going to heat this, and that white plastic is now going to turn into gold mesh. Magic is happening. Now, I don't know if you can see that on the camera. I hope you can. If I tilt that, can you see that as being gold on there yet? So we started off with the white mesh. We started off like this, okay, and now we have gold. Now, if you wanted to put that as a texture on some card, you just take a piece of white, no, that's cream. piece of white. So if I take this onto a piece of white card so you can just see, does that help at all? It's not brilliant lighting, is it? It really is not tonight. But you can see the gold. It's a really nice effect. Now, if you've got this to put on a piece of a smaller piece of card, that if I've got a piece cut to size would have been handy. Let me just see on here. These are my scraps. So say I'd got a panel like that. There we go. That's nice and easy. And if I take that off and I say, right, okay, I want to put that on the middle of that card there. Okay, it is mildly sticky on the back, so you can stick it down. The only thing is I wouldn't rely on it being there permanent. You see, you can peel that off and move it, but it's not a permanent fixture. So you would need to find a way just to anchor that down, or use a little brush with some Tombow maybe on the back. But for now, that would fit nicely. I've got my caddy out here somewhere. With a note card. So if I was to say, right, let's put that layer onto here on a note card, you could actually make sure you fix that on there. Now, one way you could do it is to do brads. You can make a little hole in each corner and just brad that on there. Or you could, like say, just get a sponge and just sponge the Tombow on the back, because that's a permanent adhesive. But look at that, and then say take the images we had in here, and we had our little trees. Can you remember we had these the other day? Like a few of the little trees. And you could just put some of those on there. If this was all stuck down, you could have a little forest of trees, and then your little penguin. You've got a big one there. Some more little ones. Oh, a couple of them and a little one. And then stick your penguin on there as well. You could make up a little scene. I'm not making a whole card up today. I just wanted to do the techniques with you. So, just trying to find something I could show you how it could be used. So we have one of those whizzed round with the scissors. Glasses down. Just whiz one of these out for you. Just trying to build up a little scene just to make a rough idea. I won't be sticking them down, but just fussy cut around there quickly. But for borders, for backgrounds, for sentiments to lay on there, placing of sentiments, I will just cut those other ones out actually, the black one, and just show you what they could look like. Just trying to piece things together just to give you ideas to play with. Powders, embossing powders are a really good addition to your collection, and just have fun playing with them. Because they're so fine, you tip the excess back into the pot. You can use them over and over again. They will keep going and only stick where you've melted it, where you've got adhesive on there. Okay, so say you wanted one of those in there somewhere. Like so, some trees at the background. I'm just throwing them on here at the moment. And then another little one maybe in the side, like that. It's going to bounce up because it's on a card base. But then if you take something like this that we did earlier, we've got the white greeting, then you could just take that and cut around that. Hope you get the drift of what where I'm trying to go with you, and give you the courage to go out and play with your powders. Okay, so this is just going to be that white standing out on that black. All my scissors have been out with the group today, and these aren't my sharpest ones. A bit worrying when you find you've got 5 pairs of various degrees of sharpness, but they are the best. So you've got lots of ways you can use the powders. Of course, this is just the straightforward way doing the greetings I started off with. But don't be afraid to mix those powders and have a pot, an empty pot that you just use for metallics. Because you can just use those on their own, or just make your own by taking a pinch out of each one Just something like that, just a little sentiment to sit on there. That's just a little mock-up of something you could do. Okay, but you've got that texture on the background. Okay, you can just mess about with it, see what you want to do. Just play and place. Okay, but that was what today was all about. Where are we time-wise? Oh, we're doing well. We've got nearly the hour. But I just wanted to give you some different ways how you can use them. Okay, this one here is one of my favourites to do batch cooking, batch embossing, and just have strips and cuts so that you can use that. They're ready to use when you want them. Okay, I might do I've got some swaps I've got to make for middle of the month, next month. So I think I might use some heat embossing like that on there. But just something like that, just place them, play around with them where you want to put them. Okay, so if you haven't got any builder scrim, that's something that was really cheap. I think that whole big roll, whoops a daisy, it's fallen off there. Put it there. I think this roll, when it started off, I think it was out here somewhere, and it way back, it cost me about £3 something. Obviously prices have gone up now considerably, but it's worth having in your repertoire. And if you've got some little brads, that would be an easy way just to fix one in each corner. Okay, or a little stitch, you could stitch them on. If you're doing them like this on a layer, you could actually stitch that on there, a little stitch in each corner, stitch through, tie it off on the back, or even tape over it on the back, and then stick it down, and no one will be any the wiser. Okay, so just little ideas, just little thought starters, and like I say, that gives you a coloured mesh then. Really useful and dirt cheap. Okay, has anyone got any questions on that? There's several little ideas there. I'll bring you back over. There we go. So if anyone's got any questions on that, is the mesh contractors joint that's yeah, something like that. Yes, it's called builder's scrim, Angela, called builder's scrim, and that's, I know it for like being like mount board, plasterboard. I don't plasterboard, is it? But yeah, the foamy stuff they have and they line walls with, it's something like that. Okay, really interesting evening. Hi Teresa, nice you could join us. Yeah, it's just lots of techniques, so just lots of ways you can use them. So it might seem an expense to buy those 3 little pots in a family, but when you think how much you get use out of them, I've had these for ages. And there's also clear in there. There's the basics, was the clear, white and black, I think, was it? Yeah, probably clear, white and black, and then you've got metallics in there, the other ones. Okay, where can you get the tape from? Just try a DIY place, Linda. Go to a DIY store, B&Q, somewhere like that. Or if you've got any independents, little small hardware stores. Somewhere like Thorns in Norwich for you. That might be somewhere, I don't know. Go just ask if have you got any builder scrim, the mesh. More like the B&Qs, the big places though, possibly. I know I bought mine in Brandon in the town in a little tiny hardware shop, but that was a long while ago. I've probably had that 20 years, seriously. So yeah, just go out and pop some. If you want to try when you're here, any of you, if you come to the studio and you want to have a go, then we'll get it out and just have a go. Love the embossing powders. Yeah, definitely so pretty. And like Gillian said, it'd be lovely to get some coloured ones. The Wow, I think they are an English company. So I'm not sure, but I think they are. We've got a lot of them. I've seen them a lot of places here. So it might be, you know, it's something that could be added on now we've changed manufacturer. Keep your fingers crossed. And that something might appear, I don't know. We do have something called a sandbox that we can actually put wish lists in, comments into Stampin' Up as a demo. So I might even add that on there. Any chance of getting coloured embossing powders. Hey, can do that. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Giving you a few ideas. Let me know if you try any of them and which ones you like the best, etc. All right. So I'll say cheerio for now, and I will see you all on Sunday. Yeah, won't be long. It'll be here quickly. You're welcome, my dear. I just want to give you confidence just to play. Marilyn, yes. Your next date. You've got a next date in, haven't you? So I'll see you next month. So yeah, we can do it then. All right, I will say cheerio and take care. Don't forget, all the offers are finishing tomorrow night. I did mention them again on Sunday. So the sign up offer to be a demonstrator, £160 worth of products for £99. Just give me a shout out if you're one of my customers and you're interested in saving a lot of money. Okay, so take care. I'm around all day tomorrow, Thursday. So I'll be home on the phone till about 4 o'clock. I've got a couple of appointments, but not for long. Okay.